Hello and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tom. So I've been hearing some conversation about PIN 2316 ASC. I was wondering if you'd tell me a little bit more about what that's all about.
Sure. This just came out last week. Licensing's put out a new resource guide, reference guide they call it. It's pretty extensive, but it goes over the training for the RCFEs, all the required training for the administrator, the employees, volunteers. I'm sure there'll be another one out soon for the adult facilities, so we'll be watching for that. So first, let's talk about the administrators. Nothing's changed on the training. You still need 40 hours every 2 years, at least 20 have to be live classes. There is one change though, the webinars that we do, other facilities, other vendors are doing them also, count for live classes. That's the only change. Everything else is the same on that. Now they did come up with a designated administrator substitute, also been passed, called a facility administrator. So it's specific that they need to be trained for emergencies, but basically the facility manager, designated administrator, what you want to call it, has to be able to take over as administrator if the administrator's not there. If licensing comes in, they have to meet with them, have available to give them folders, the files, those kind of things. So it's an administrator that's not licensed yet. So they call it a substitute. Now for staff, they have to have CPR, they say an adequate number. And what that means is at any time, 24 hours a day, somebody that's on the floor has to have CPR training. They don't necessarily have to do CPR, but they have to be trained in it. All staff will need first aid training. They should be trained in emergency and disaster preparedness, elder abuse. Now, licensing says you have 60 days to give them the elder abuse training. I would recommend you train that in day one. You don't want to wait 60 days if somebody's being abused to find out about it. But anyway, you've got 60 days for that. Infection control is a big item. There's all new training on that. There's a whole new section in Title 22 for your infection control. And then personal rights. You want to go over their personal rights. And I would do that item by item with the new staff. Now, if you've got direct care staff assisting with the ADLs, activities of daily living, it's very specific on how much training they need, the topics, what you're going to train on, the hours that you got to spend training, and the timelines when they need trained by. It's 2 weeks at some items, 4 weeks for other items, first 24 hours, our first 20 hours. So be sure and review that as part of your training. And then they have on-the-job training. So this is shadowing and hands-on training. So it's not done in a webinar or done going to a class. It has to be done in the facility. And then you've got annual training. So this new guide lists specific on how much training, when, and what you're going to do.